What's up guys, my name's Stu, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming Section 31 Intel Dreadnought. Stowe has just announced a new Section 31 ship coming to the Infinity promo boxes. Yes, it's a promo ship, feel free to gripe, but it's not going to change anything. While similar to the Section 31 Command Battlecruiser, this ship sports some noticeable differences. The most notable being that this is a full Intel ship instead of a command ship, which makes sense given the upcoming changes to the Intel specialization. Anyway, let's take a look at the stats. The Section 31 Intel Dreadnought will be releasing into the Infinity promo boxes on March 17th. That's for PC, by the way. Console will get this at a later date. This ship is one of the several Section 31 ships seen at the end of Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. The look of this one is clearly inspired by the Miranda class, with the roll bar and torpedo pod, and only one pair of nacelles coming out from the bottom of the saucer section. And I actually really like it because of those things. Now, let's get to the stats. The ship has a hull modifier of 1.55, which is rather high, and that makes sense because the ship is a dreadnought. A shield modifier of 1.25, a 4-4 weapons layout, which I will remind you all is actually better for torpedo builds, 4 device slots. In the bridge officer seating, it has a lieutenant commander tactical seat, an ensign engineering seat, a commander engineering/intel seat, a lieutenant commander science/command seat, and a lieutenant universal. For the consoles, it'll have 4 tactical, 4 engineering, and 3 science, a base turn rate of 6.5, an impulse modifier of 0.13, and 35 inertia, which means this ship is not going to be very maneuverable, though that kind of makes sense because it is a dreadnought. For comparison, the Section 31 battlecruiser has a turn rate of 8.5, but still has an inertia of 35. For its power levels, it gets plus 10 to weapons power, plus 5 to shield power, and plus 5 to auxiliary. It can equip dual cannons. The ship comes with a new combat variant of Dark Mode. Dark Mode is basically just an era-appropriate version of cloaking device, but this new combat version will be more akin to a battle cloak, though you'll be able to activate it in combat. Borticus stated on Twitter that this ship was given this new Battle Dark Mode because the ship is an Intel ship, so I guess he wanted to further lean into the whole stealth aspect of these ships. Some of us were hoping that the other Section 31 ships would be updated with this new version of the Dark Mode, and according to Borticus, the Section 31 Science Destroyer might get it because it is also an Intel ship, but that the battlecruiser will not be getting it because that is still a command ship. Like the battlecruiser, this dreadnought will also feature Swarm Mode, which basically creates an aura of Section 31 drones that will damage anything that gets too close. This being a dreadnought, it also features a hangar bay, which will have new Section 31 drone pets. Their stats got left out of the blog by accident, but Borticus did post them to Twitter, so we know that they'll be equipped with covert phasers, and will be able to use surgical strikes. With the upcoming changes to surgical strikes, these could be really powerful pets, though I would probably still stick with the Alliance pets because of their focused assault. This is an Intel ship, so of course it has the Gather Intel mechanic. This is getting a buff soon along with several of the Intel Bridge Officer abilities, so pretty soon this is actually going to be more effective. Being a dreadnought, this ship only has 2 of the cruiser communication array abilities, attract firepower and weapon system efficiency. And of course we'll have the Dreadnought Mastery Package, which gives buffs to hull regen, damage resistance, critical chance, and max hull. This ship comes with a new console, Invasive Control Mechanisms. What it does is fire a number of projectiles at your enemy. These projectiles will then burrow into the hull of your target. This will deal some kinetic damage and confuse the target for 15 seconds. While confused, the target will receive electrical damage over time. The full duration of this confuse and the electrical damage over time will be affected by your control expertise skill. This console's passives will buff your starship stealth and your auxiliary power, and provide buffs to your maneuverability while cloaked. It's an interesting console, but it doesn't sound like anything that's going to be crazy meta. The fact that the confuse and the electrical damage are affected by your control expertise makes me say that this would probably be better on a science build. The ship's starship trait is called Interference Drones. What it does is give you temporary hull every time you activate the launch ability on one of your hangar pets. Obviously, you can only have a certain number of hangar pets active, so you'll get that temporary hull whether or not a new pet actually launches. You just gotta hit the button. Additionally, while you have temporary hull on your ship, that includes temporary hull from any source, not just from this trait, any pet summons you have will gain a 33% damage buff. This bonus will be checked once per second, and only affect pets within 20 kilometers of you. The actual damage buff itself doesn't seem to have its own duration, likely because it's linked to temporary hull, which, by its very nature, is temporary. So that means the longer you can keep temporary hull on your ship, the longer you'll have this damage buff. The actual damage buff doesn't just affect hangar pets either. It'll affect any pets from hangars, consoles, devices, etc. If you like pet builds, this trait isn't bad. 33% isn't a huge amount, especially because it's only Cat 1, but because it's linked to temporary hull, it would actually be pretty easy to maintain that buff. The big downside to this trait is that it is only available on a promo ship. If this trait were on a C-store ship, I would actually be pretty hyped about it, because I have more than a few pet-themed builds I would actually like to try this out on. But this trait being on a promo ship means it's not only going to be very expensive, but it's also a single character unlock. Like I said, the trait's not bad, but it's definitely not worth the price of a promo ship. Yeah, that is the Section 31 Intel Dreadnought. It looks like it's going to be a good ship, especially if you like torpedo builds. Frankly, I would like it a bit better if it were a full command ship, but what can you do? Will I personally be buying this ship? No, not right away. But that's mainly because it's a promo ship, so it's going to be rather expensive, and I really can't afford to be spending that much money right now. Especially with Mission Chicago coming up in just over a month. Which, by the way, if you haven't heard yet, I am going to be at Star Trek Mission Chicago. So if you're going to be there too, feel free to say hi. I'm pretty easy to spot in a crowd. Yeah, like I was saying, good ship, but not something I would call a must-have for me. Mainly because of the price. Anyway, what do you guys think of the ship? Let me know down in the comments below, and while you're down there, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. It really does help the channel and I do appreciate it. My name's Stu, and I will see you guys next time.